Holly, and I am going to be making autumn soaps in this video. I was completely inspired by a recipe in Simi's book called, it's the pumpkin maple soap, and I added a little bit extra to mine. I decided to tweak it just a little bit, but this is just a really neat recipe and a great idea. So this soap is going to have pumpkin and maple syrup and goat milk, and it's gonna be oh so good. So we're gonna do 2 batches. We're gonna do an unscented one and then a fragranced one. Now the fragrance, I have mixed my own, just blend. I feel like it's an autumn hug. It's just all the good things about autumn. There's pumpkin, cranberry, apple, let me think, pomegranate. We've got some woods, some spices. Oh, it's really good. I think you'll love it too. So I'm gonna get all my safety gear on and let's make soap. Okay, so into my pot here, I have my melted and blended oils. So I have olive, coconut, castor, and cocoa butter, but I've also added in a little shea and a little avocado today. Now I'm going to start adding in the extras. So we have some maple syrup here. And maple syrup is going to provide like the sugar makes bubbles. That's pretty much what it comes down to. Sugar makes bubbles in soap. Then we're going to add in the pureed pumpkin, and this is just 100% pumpkin. And pumpkin has a lot of vitamin A and other amazing things that could contribute to the properties of the soap, but I put it in because I just think it's fun to have pumpkin in soap in the fall. I always do. I love it. And then we have some goat milk here. And so in it goes, and then we're just going to get this all blended in very nicely. I'm tapping out the bubbles that might be trapped in the shaft. So I use purees as just an additive, so I don't use too much. You can overwhelm a soap. For the most part, it's going to be fine. The sodium hydroxide is basically a preservative. Everything is great, but it can be overwhelmed, so you do have to use caution. And I like to not put in as much as I could. Now, I have seen some people, when they add in a lot of pumpkin, mix it with the lye solution. I've never tried that one myself. The pumpkin is considered part of my water portion. And so the pumpkin in the milk, and so my lye solution has less water in it than normal. So I am going to strain it out because it is, whoop, it does have some lye lint, L-I-N-T, that's what it's called. And it's just a normal reaction with the sodium hydroxide and the air. And when you reduce the amount of water that the lye is being mixed with, it also kind of exaggerates it. So I made this last night and just let it set all night long. So most of it is staying in the pitcher. I find that it's negligible, is that a word? It's not that much that is lost ultimately, and if there is a little bit lost, which there is a little bit, but it is added to the superfat. It just means there's a little bit more oil that's not reacting with the lye. And that's what makes our soap nowadays so awesome. It's because we have that super fat. I'm working with my big pot here, so I always bring in this big spatula to help me out. Now this is going to be just more of a pale colored soap. This one is my unscented of the two that I am making today. And pumpkin is just kind of yellow in soap. So there's some options. The book says you can use some use carrot instead. I tend to only have yellow from carrot as well. There's some like spices. I believe you can use like annatto. Don't take my word for all of that on usage rates and stuff. I haven't researched it in quite some time. Because this is an unscented batch and I didn't reduce the water a lot because I just wanted these batches, well, I didn't reduce it at all. I wanted them to just be equal. This batch will be just a little bit smaller because the fragrance oil content isn't there. But it still basically costs the same to make minus the cost of the fragrances. So because of that extra water and that I soap at room temperature, it is going to take me a little bit longer to get this to a pouring stage. So as always, soap makers are working their fall, at least in the northern hemisphere. Soap makers are making their fall soaps when it's like almost 100 degrees outside, and I'm like, I have my hoodie on and I'm toasty and the air conditioning is running, and it's always it always feels a little silly because we're not quite ready for it. Now this is likely to heat up on me today because it's not extra cool in here. It's my thermometer says 66. I don't believe that to be true. I think it's a little closer to 70 or 72. But because the maple syrup is in there and the goat milk, those sugars are going to cause, well, there's sugar in pumpkin as well. It's going to cause the batch to naturally heat up. So I will try my best to keep this one cool. I'm not going to cover it very tight at all, just enough to prevent some ash. So it is definitely taking it a long time. I'm starting to get it a light trace. It was emulsified just a moment ago, but it is just at the lightest of traces. So I am going to set this aside temporarily and let it thicken up. And in the meantime, we'll just mix up the additives for the next batch. I about spilled this maple syrup. That would have been so bad. What a mess. So we're getting the maple syrup in. I did not want to stick blend the unscented batch too much. That is going to create heat, which will just like get it on its way to overheating. So I do just want to let it set for a little bit. Does anyone else feed their dogs pumpkin? I deal with pumpkin every day of my life. And now with the goat milk. Alright, we'll get this blended in and set aside. Alright, let's see what it's at now. Oh, isn't that nice? Look at this. This is getting to be quite a thick trace. Nice. This is perfect for pouring. I love it so much. You'll see little speckles. That's just natural from the pumpkin. But we definitely don't want chunks of pumpkin free floating because those could spoil. But the little specks, they're fine. So in with the mold. And I think I better pour from the left side since this is a bigger batch and my right shoulder can't handle it. So here we go. Oh, this is going to be a spectacular batch. Pumpkin, maple syrup, goat milk. Can you just even deal? You know I love an unscented soap. This is going to be my favorite, I'm sure, for the season. And so now I just got to do a lot of scraping. Whoops, stuck the handle in it. So I usually just keep the tops of my soap, unscented soaps, rather simple. Just kind of, I do like a, I don't know, I push down in and then I drizzle the top. I just, oh, isn't that pretty? And that looks so nice. It's just creamy. Oh, so good. Well, it does kind of make me excited for the fall, but I'm not ready quite yet. I think that's really, really pretty. Totally up my alley. Okay, so here we have the unscented version, and I am going to get it set behind me, clean up a little, and then we'll do the second batch. Okay, so for this fragranced one, we're gonna add a little color. I'm gonna start with a copper penny mica. I feel like this always makes a really nice pumpkin color. And then I'm gonna add in a little orange, some orange vibrance here. So since I'm working with just the oils here, I'm gonna go ahead and blend this in. Gonna go ahead and add in the lye solution. Now I have mixed my own fragrance for this. I've incorporated 4 different ones and they smell so good. It's just a fall fragrance, an autumn fragrance. There's no one scent that really pops out, but there's pumpkin and apple and cranberry, pomegranate. It has, you know, cinnamon and clove. Woodsy, it's got lemon peel. Oh, it's so good. But it is going to have a little vanillin in it. I know I said it, but look it up, how to pronounce vanillin in America if you have a problem with it. And it also has ethyl vanillin, which tends to be, for me, the more of the powerhouse for the discoloration. So I fully intend this to turn a little bit brown. So I'm kind of just working with it. I'm going solid. One of my all-time favorite fall soaps, and it wasn't even me that made it, but one of my all-time favorites was just a solid. It was like a dark orange, brownish, and it was just autumn. That's all. I need to get this involved. I can't wait to put it in wax melts too. It's just sitting over here smelling amazing. Now I want to make sure that this is at least emulsified, because the fragrance may accelerate this just a little bit. So we're definitely well blended, but we are not at a trace yet. All right, so here goes. We're going to, actually, I find I don't love stirring at the same time as adding in fragrance. But let's see what it does. There's not a lot of notes on these particular fragrances that I used for soap making, but they are body safe, soap safe. That's a pretty good sign of vanilla, and when it turns that bright yellow. Let's get my mold in here. Well, this is looking pretty good. I'll go ahead and get my stick blender cleaned off and out. I'm confident that it is blended enough to pour. It's just a little thin to pour, so we're just going to sit and wait, because I don't think it's going to take very long. I did not use this fragrance at the full load that I could have. I also don't want it to be overly spicy or anything. It's definitely at a trace. Definitely at a thicker trace. I can feel it as I'm stirring that it is getting thicker. I think we'll pour. Okay, here goes. Isn't that beautiful? I wish it would stay this color. I'm 99.9% sure that it is not going to. Now, I am getting a bit of a funky smell from the goat milk, and that is completely normal. But that will go away. Okay, so I think that is like the perfect color right now for, you know, kind of just a light pumpkin, but that is beautiful. I don't put micas in my natural soaps, otherwise wouldn't that be awesome? I have done it before. I did do a pumpkin where I went ahead and put in the mica, but I don't feel like that's not really my customer base at that point. Unscented with the colorants in it. Kind of like to leave it all natural. It just kind of takes me back to when I was a newer soap maker, and just the excitement of it and that fall, and learning about how vanilla changes colors in soap, because that was, I think I made a cinnamon roll scented. It was a hot process soap, slow cooker soap, and I remember I was a little goober on the forum, but I was like, why did my soap turn brown? You just have to learn things. I tried to do a lot of research and not ask stupid questions, but apparently that was a stupid question day for me. I probably should have gotten out my spoon, but I think I'm just going to go with this. I'm gonna smack it down. Because I paper wrap my soap, so I don't want to have too high of peaks, but I love this. I think this is beautiful. This is simple, and I think it's going to be perfect for the fall. So it will be fun to see how this discolors over time. So in a couple of days when I cut this, I'm sure we'll start seeing the ring and everything on the edge. So I will lightly cover this as well, and I will see you back here for the cut. Okay, so it's been a few days. Let's unmold this scented one. It looks really pretty. I like how it turned out. We'll work with the unscented one first, and then we can just move right into the fragrance one because it's the same recipe plus a little bit more, but I like the unscented to stay separate. I love how creamy this is. It turned out so nice. It's just a light, kind of like a comforting yellow. So pretty. It's I slid a little bit out of the way there. Guess you can't see a whole lot. Anyway. Alright, we'll bring in my splitter here. And this is why, I don't know if you, whoops, I hurt the edge just a little bit. This is why I usually use popsicle sticks and clean off the edges. I don't like this little bits of stuff, but I apparently did not do that the other day. Anyway, so then I rub it off, and then it falls on, and then it it got stuck. It's kind of annoying. All right, let's get this set for the slice off the edge. It doesn't want to move very much. Let's see what that's gonna do. I think we need just a smidgen more. I have a marker, but I'd like to do just a smidgen more with these new molds that my husband built. I know a lot of people say they look like a drawer. Like, oh, you're so clever. It's actually just a wood box that my husband built and put a cabinet pull on it so that I could hold on to it. Oh, this is heavy. All right, so I think we're looking up here, so move a little closer. So then I cut it 2.5. Oh, that looks so good. So creamy. Has no discernible scent other than milky soap, which is exactly what I expected. I love unscented soap. I'm very excited about this one. This is a bit of a new blend. You'll see some speckles. That's from the pumpkin. We don't want any big pumpkin pieces. These are just very tiny speckles. Most of the time, if they look a little bit bigger, it's because they've what we call bleeding. It just kind of bled the color out around it. Well, it does look like it got a little warm. Look right in here. See how you can see how it kind of swirls around there? It got a little bit hot even still. Hopefully there's not too much of that. I usually just keep those bars for us. Nothing wrong with them. Alright, so I'm going to try to remember this time to cut my ends here before I move on. I cut these for samples. I cut these ones at 2 inches. Now we'll go ahead and cut. We will look at this one and see how it has turned out with the overheating. Looks like we caught just a little bit of it there. That's the problem with some of these blends, the milk and the sugar. It does cause it to overheat. So I do have a little bit on this loaf, but not all the bars, just some of them. Isn't that pretty? That's going to be so comforting to use. Oh my gosh. The body, the skin, it does love an unscented. Just simple, creamy, luxurious. Oh, so good. I probably should clean that off. Clean off the wires. Keeps all this extra that collects on the wires from going onto the soap or possibly dragging on the soap. This is such a pretty color. I love this. My cutter likes to get squeaky on occasion, but it's not all the time. Yeah, those are looking pretty good. Definitely have some discoloration from the overheating, so I'll just have to pick through them when the time comes. I forgot I was going to take the loaves and take a picture. Oh boy. So now with the fragranced version, look at this color. I did not mean to do that. Didn't cut in very far. Look at this color. Isn't that so pretty? It turned out so good. I don't know how dark it's going to get, so we'll just have to see. But for right now, just like the perfect pumpkin-y, almost butterscotch color. My grandma always had butterscotches for us when we were in church. We'd go visit in Wyoming at the ranch. Usually stayed for a couple of weeks. Okay, so that's giving you a pretty good idea of what the discoloration might be. So it's all going to darken to this color and probably then some. We'll just have to see what it does. Anyway, we just go visit for a couple of weeks, and so we went to church, which is the tiniest church in JM, Wyoming. You'd miss that town. It's so tiny. It's not even really a town. It has a church and a post office. I think that's about it. But my mom went to school there. Oh, the apple is coming out. Oh, it's so good. It's so good. I love this blend. It's so pretty too. It's just creamy and pumpkin-y. Oh. Anywho's it. I think my grandma gave us butterscotch candies to keep our mouths shut in church. That's a good memory. I love butterscotch because of it. This is actually very butterscotch pudding-like. I love butterscotch pudding. Haven't had it in ages, but I love it. This is definitely butterscotch pudding-y color right now. Love it so much. This top turned out extra fun too. Quite pleased with it. Alright, need to get the ends cut. Sometimes I forget and then I get lazy and I just put them on a tray, and then next thing I know it's like time to have a release and I need to cut all these pieces and let them dry a bit, and it's not worth my time not to just do it. Plus, I needed to cut this at a fairly decent time because I do want it to discolor evenly. Sometimes, if you leave a discoloring soap for too long, the inside won't quite be on the same time frame. It'll eventually get there, but it may not be on the same time frame, and you can have some lines which look a bit weird. Alright, so let's get these loaves cut into bars. And like I said, I didn't clean off anything just because we're just moving right into the next one. It smells amazing. I am so pleased with this smell. I was really watching this one. I was trying to make sure it did not overheat. I was the other one as well. But I did, oops, forgot to clean it off. But I did try to make sure that it wasn't just too hot. I did pop in here at one point and it was in full gel, which is always kind of interesting to see. I probably should have filmed it, but I think at the time I had my memory card back in the house, so I was not gonna go back and get that at the time. It's not a long walk, but it is a little bit of a walk between the shed and our, well, I call it a house, but it's a camper. I do not know why my thing has gotten so squeaky, my cutter, all of a sudden. I'm gonna have to try to cut those out. It's been very hot here, closer to 100 degrees. And so I feel like, you know, the sun is very scorching. The sun is very scorching here, and it's like with the smoke that we've had in the air, it just has that orange glow. It kind of feels like a nuclear situation. There's a few days that kind of felt like we were just on the outskirts of hell. It was hot. So hot. But we're thinking fall. We're thinking autumn here. On to the final loaf here. I think you're gonna love this one, and I'm gonna be so excited to put it out there. It just, I can't get over how amazing it smells. Now, it does not smell like Hobby Lobby. I think I mentioned that in the beginning. I went to Hobby Lobby to pick up some yarn the other day, and I was like, this smells amazing. I love the smell of Hobby Lobby, especially in the fall. Oh, it's so good. So cinnamony. I don't know, do they like pump stuff through their systems? We had that when I worked at Mailboxes, etc., which is now UPS store, but Mailboxes, etc. in Florida. We had a scent that was pumped through a system of some sort. So I don't know if it's just like the pine cones at Hobby Lobby, you know, like those cinnamon pine cones, or what. So this soap is going to go on the curing rack, and I probably will release this in August. I think we'll be ready for it. A lot of people are getting ready for fall, and this soap needs to cure, and even by August, let's get it to you, and so it's in your hands when you're ready for it. I hope that you enjoyed this video. Please give the video a like and drop a comment down below. I love to chat with you. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one. Bye.